Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining for another episode of PickEd Speaks. I am Dr. D, your host, and I am so glad that each and every one of you are joining us tonight. Please make sure you're sharing on your social media outlets right now, letting people know that, listen, they want to join this conversation, because I truly do believe that tonight is going to be a conversation that they need to hear. I have an amazing guest who is going to share his story on many levels, right? We want to really have this discussion because of the fact that I'm sure there has been some people like you who have been trying to figure out what's my next, right? You know, I put myself, I believe this to be the thing I was going to do. I was very confident, secure in this thing. But of course, there's always the what's my next. And you want to be able to learn how to process through that. And so tonight's guest, I believe, will help begin to guide that discussion and begin to kind of give you some insight on that. But before we get to tonight's discussion, before we get to tonight's guest, I want to spend some time simply just saying thank you all who join me on a regular basis every Monday night. You may have noticed last Monday that I was not here. Last Monday, I took a quick break and I wanted to take this time and take this moment to share with you, family and friends who join me on a regular basis. Last week, unfortunately, I was dealing with some health challenges and unfortunately they came out to be similar to what I thought it was to be. And I wanted to make sure I share that with my family here. Unfortunately, on this past week, I was officially diagnosed with Crohn's disease. If you know anything about Crohn's disease, you know that it deals with inflammation within your stomach and your colon, your rectum area. And so it has been something that has been, though uncomfortable, at the same time has definitely been something that I consider a challenge that I believe that only God gives to strong people. I believe in my heart of hearts that people, what we go through at times, we go through these things because God needs to show himself in physical form on earth to show his power, his might, and his glory. And so for me, I take this as a challenge that is accepted to continue to use this as another moment, another opportunity to be a testimony. And so I pray and I hope that as you continue on this journey with me, not just health journey, but this journey with the PickEd Speaks, that you'll continue to see my heart, my passion, and you continue to see what I believe to be my calling. I also ask that you join me on this endeavor as I continue to push forward and encouraging men to check yourself, get yourself checked. At this point, I know many men, they spend time, dealing and grappling with the not wanting to know or trying to figure out if they're going to get checked. But this is something I implore you. I encourage you to make sure that you're checking your body. If something is not right, if something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't feel normal, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a moment, come down, breathe for a second, and then say, listen, I need to make sure I'm all right, because there's some people who are here on this earth who still need me to be here. And so my prayer for you today is that you begin to take more conscious ideas of what your body is saying to you, and you take that time to find out what's going on, as I did. And I'm grateful that I did. So again, thank you for all those who've been a part of this journey already in the past week, who've had your prayers, who've sent your love, who've checked on me via calls, emails, and text messages. Thank you all so much for those. And I look forward to continuing to do this work. Now, with that out the way, I wanted to bring this month, I want to have this month talking about individuals who really have what I call the overcoming story, right? Many of us have had to overcome challenges. Many of us have had to change directions, and what that actually looks like. We don't, when we get on this work, when we get on this earth, when we get in life, we don't necessarily get the roadmap to life, right? We don't necessarily know what the twists and the turns are going to actually happen, but we just live this life, and you only get it once. And so you want to make sure that you try your best to do it the best way you can. And every now and then we find ourselves on a wall, right? Trying to figure out, how do we navigate through this thing called life? And today I am joined by a brother who, again, I am appreciative and grateful that opened up his heart, his mind, and just who he is, to say, listen, I would love to be part of this discussion. I would love to join you. And we discussed this about almost 2 months ago. And the fact that he was still willing and able to do so was absolutely amazing. You've seen the advertisement. You've seen his accolades. I want to give him the opportunity to talk about it more. He has been in the NFL. He is now an author. He's a business coach, a consultant. He's a motivational speaker across, the nation, doing wonderful work and still doing and giving back to the communities in which he serves and working with young people. So At this time, I would like to introduce and welcome to the PickEd Speaks platform a good friend, a new friend that we have to the show, Mr. Marques Ogden. How are you, good sir?
How are you, sir? Thanks for having me on.
I am absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Like I said, we talked about this almost about 2 months ago. And so, the fact that you are still like, listen, I'm still with it. I'm good. That's always exciting. First and foremost, I want to just kind of start off with the general, giving people the opportunity to learn about just who you are before and just kind of give some background about, just you in general.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Washington, D.C. My brother Jonathan and I both played in the National Football League. But what a lot of people don't know is we were raised by a single parent and not a single mother. It was actually a single father. Our father, when our parents divorced, my father told my mother, we're going to split the money down the middle. You're going to take this house. I'm going to take this house. But the only thing I want is full custody of the boys. They're both young men. I'm very close to them. They need their father in their life. You're going to be doing what you want to do. If you want to set visitation, that's totally fine. But I want the boys. And my mother didn't even fight them, and that's how it was. So from the age of about being 8, my brother was 14. We were raised by a single father. It was great. I learned a lot. Thank God I had my maternal grandparents in Washington, D.C. were very close to us and probably about 20 minutes away driving. So spent a lot of time with them. Loved my grandmother, loved my grandfather very much. But again, that's how we were raised. I went to St. John's College High School, the same high school that Kevin Plank owns Under Armour went to. Then I got a full scholarship, DeAndre, to go play football for the Bison at Howard University, the same place that my father went to play his college ball back in the 70s. And I went there in the late 1990s, early 2000s.
And you hit on two specific things that I really want to hit really quickly because of the fact that you talked about something we don't really hear a lot of, right? And that's being raised by a single father, and particularly two young men being raised by a single father, and the fact that he found that to be important. And I don't think that we give enough shine and enough recognition to those men in our lives who say, listen, you can, all the money and everything else is cool. But for me to be able to have the opportunity to help guide the ones that I helped birth into this world is absolutely amazing. And so, first of all, giving shout out and giving up to your father for that. And then the second thing is the fact that you did decide to go to an HBCU, which I think is absolutely amazing. What was that? What was that really pushed you and made you decide that this is what I want to do? I really, growing up in Washington, knowing there's schools all around the country, what was it that specifically about HBCUs that made you interested and wanted to go there?
So back, of course, in the late 90s, mid 90s and the late 90s, you had a lot of great shows that were on, like Family Matters. You had The Cosby Show, Different World, and all the sweatshirts I would always see would be Howard University. And of course, you saw some other black colleges. You saw Hampton, you saw some FAMU, but I mean, Howard dominated the TV screen on these shows back in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. And at that time, being only about 15 minutes from Washington, D.C., living in Washington, D.C., about 15 minutes from Howard, It made a lot of sense. And with my dad going there, playing for the Bison, being one of the first classes to get a full scholarship to play football for the Bison. When I got that offer, which was my only offer to play college football, it was a no-brainer for me. And I visited Howard. I loved the campus. But what I loved more than anything was the diversity. Yes, it's an HBCU, but we had people from all across the world. Trinidad, Tobago. You had people that were from Africa. You had people that were from Bahamas. You had people that were from Canada. I mean, you just have people from all across the globe that were coming to Howard. So to be a student athlete with a full scholarship to represent the Bison and be on that field and carry on that legacy and go to HBCU, for me, it was absolutely no brainer. And I was proud to be a Bison. I still talk about that to this day.
And I'm sure you were probably one of the many who had the chest out and the sense of pride when one of your very own became the vice president of the United States of America. I've seen so many Bisons. You all have a rich rich legacy, if you will, but you also have a pride that's like none other. And so that is absolutely amazing. You talked about you and your brother both going into the NFL. One, what was that experience like? Not only being in the NFL, but also being in the NFL and actually having a sibling who was along the journey as well.
Having my brother, who was regarded as the best offensive lineman in NFL's history, to learn from, to guide me, to give me advice when I needed it, was amazing. And it was great where I got to play with him with the Ravens, for a little while. It was absolutely awesome being around people like Ray Lewis, Ed.D, people like, just some monster football players, great coaches, people like Brian Billick, people like, Jack Del Rio. I learned a lot about not just the game of football, to be honest, but the game of life. So playing in the NFL, I tell everybody, I was actually talk about this today. I am a national, international keynote speaker, executive coach, consultant, and author, but I'm a former NFL athlete. And I tell everybody, playing football, I learned so much about life, about, how to deal with things, how to deal with adversity, because I've gone through a lot of adversity in the last, I filed a Chapter 7 complete bankruptcy in 2013 after making a really, really bad mistake in business. So it's happened to anybody. But, a lot of the lessons I learned from football allowed me to carry myself forward and keep going when a lot of people, I feel, that going through what I was going through might not have made it because there was a lot of financial ruin, a lot of emotional stress, and it was a lot of just, to the point where my mindset was about to snap. It didn't, but it was on the verge of snapping many times because I had so much adversity, negativity, and, trials I had to go through to get where I am today.
And we're going to talk about that second half in a minute, but I want to kind of go back to you're talking about that experience in the NFL and pretty much what you learned there. There's so many young people who are right now in sports, whether they're in basketball or they're in football and other arenas, and they're looking to make it pro. They're looking to catch that break, and they're looking to be among the stars and things of that nature. And it's become and there's things that they are not told. They see the glamour, but they don't see the other part. What is something that you believe that going through the process? It's a two-part. One, what do you think that you would have wish you have known kind of going in? And then what is one of the things that really helped you to this day that you learned while you were there?
I wish I would have known the type of environment it was, as far as how difficult it was to adjust to not just the speed, but the mental aspect, the aspect of, you go from being a collegiate athlete to now you're a professional athlete, but you also have to do life. Pay bills, balance a checkbook, buy a car, you have income coming in, you have expenses going out. It's a lot that's going on. And I really wish I would have known, which I have I have a degree in finance from Howard, but still it was just so fast paced. Like, you got drafted, then you went to OTAs, then you came back, you went home for a little bit, then you came back to do workouts. And if you were smart, which I did because my brother told me to, I got an apartment down in Jacksonville so I could train there, I could do there, I could be there, I could try to learn, be in the film room, right? But also, I had never paid a bill in my life. Like, I had never paid, a rent. I had never paid, I had never even shopped for a car. Like, I didn't even know what credit was. Like, I didn't know if I had good credit or bad credit. I had never even used it. I never had a credit card in college, none of that. So it was a lot to deal with, not just the game, but adjusting to life and how fast life moves. Because again, you gotta go get your water bill, you gotta get a phone. I mean, it's just all these things that add up. And when you're 21, 22, 23 years old as a rookie and you're drafting, you're trying to get acclimated, and then you have to get acclimated to how to live life beyond college, right? Because when you're a full scholarship athlete, everything's paid for you. Sure. It's a huge adjustment. And then what I still use today is I use a lot of the grit and a lot of the perseverance that football taught me, because football's not easy. I mean, it's not easy. It's a lot of long nights, a lot of, long days. I mean, people think football is so glamorous. Like training camp, you're up at, 5 a.m., breakfast is at 6 a.m., you could be at the facility till sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. You'll have breaks in between, but double practice, meetings, team meetings, position meetings, like literally it's so much mental, but at the same time, the physical on that field is so hard. It's a grind and it's grueling and it's a lot to go through. And again, that has taught me and prepared me for life, for who I am now, what I do today, because for 2.5 years trying to become a speaker, I didn't get one paid speaking job, not one. So I had to adjust and I had to keep going, and football taught me that.
And let's talk about that for a minute, that adjustment, because, I've talked about with my church for a minute, this whole concept and the idea of alignment, right? And learning how to not only just be in alignment, but learning how to move forward and actually what that looks like. And one of the things that I've been dealing with or having conversations with in different talks that I do is really finding that why, not just the WHY, but why, the actual letter, and why standing for you, finding you and finding that why, and understanding that they all coincide, right? What was it about the transition between of life and NFL that really began to propel this idea, this concept of what is my why? What is my next? What am I actually doing here? And what am I trying to create?
So really and truly, when I left football, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what to do next. There was no, the only why I knew was football. And for about 6 months, I struggled with alcohol addiction, painkiller addiction, nightlife, excessive gambling, just being out late, defile my body, all this type of stuff. And plus, on top of that, I just lost my father about a year prior. So I was really in a bad mental space. And after I stopped feeling sorry for myself, I realized football taught me a lot about, again, perseverance, grit. And I got into construction because I went to a course when I was in the NFL, and it was okay. I liked it, but I was also chasing big money syndrome. And when I realized that I had some skills at marketing and positioning myself, I said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And that's what I did. But everybody doesn't understand that, that transition to being a construction owner wasn't easy, because I had a lot of costs I had to put up. I had a lot of starting and a lot of things I didn't know about construction. But I just got kind of lucky. I got some really good employees in the beginning. I did get a business partner. And, by the time we got into our 3rd year, we became the largest African-American subcontracting business in the city of Baltimore, in the state of Maryland, that was African-American MBE certified. And we were an 8-figure-a-year business. We were almost at $15 million revenue at our height. But because I made some really bad decisions, because what I tell my clients to never do, never get mesmerized by your early success. I did that. I lost sight of how to treat people, how to value people. And I lost sight that people make the business. Business doesn't make people. And I ended up losing my best employee. And when he left and everything started to crumble, like he predicted, DeAndre, 6 months later, I'm completely bankrupt, home foreclosed on, both cars, when I got down to Raleigh, were repossessed in the same day. And when I got here, April 2013, actually April 13, 2013, I only had $400 in my bank account after everything. That's, everything, paying the movers, getting down here, getting into our little rental that we had, which I don't know how we got into it. I had a job lined up. I wasn't starting for about a week because of the whole cycle period. And I was literally, DeAndre, 1 week away from being homeless, because we had it in our landlord agreement that we had to pay the rent a week early because we were new tenants, and it was and he didn't know us, and he wanted to build some trust with us, and we had no other option. We had a dog at the time. We wanted to keep our dog. Nowhere else could we get into except that, so we had to do it. And we were about a week away from being homeless, DeAndre, back in April 2013.
And before we go into our break, I'm interested to know, because we'll talk about on the other end of the break of the actual overcoming of all and how to press forward. But I'm curious to know, because I know there's a lot of people who are watching who, because we know that COVID in the last year has truly been detrimental to a lot of people, whether it be small business owners or just people who are just living life and have had to work through the challenges of life itself. And many people have been unable to still grow or grapple with what they're dealing with. What was for you your the thing that kind of kept you wanting to push forward? And was there a time where you literally was like, this is too much and I'm done?
So when I had, what happened is I had my rock bottom pivotal moment where it was, I call it my spoiled milk moment, where somebody's trash and rotten meat and banana peels and horrible protruding nasty garbage got over my body because I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week back in June of 2013. Started working as a football trainer, training kids' private sessions. And then when that started to kind of run thin because kids got into football, I picked up another job as a custodian, making $8.25 an hour, working from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. And I ended up having that pivotal moment right then and there. So that was my wake-up call to say something had to change. Came home, wrote down my 3 biggest strengths. I tell my clients, every client I talk to, I had 2 new ones today that started for my one-on-one coaching. We go through, tell me your story. What are your 3 biggest strengths? And what are 3 things you want to work on? I always start with the strengths because that's what got me out of that negative mindset when I came home after that rock bottom moment. Then I went ahead and figured out what that was. I was good at telling stories, communication in general, and wanting to help people, especially NFL retired athletes, not go bankrupt. Started to speak. And what kept me going is I became a statistic when I filed a bankruptcy, lost my home, lost both my cars, lost all of my money, lost all of my credit, lost all my family, well, most of my family, almost all of my friends. And I had to start completely over with nothing. I mean, 0, rock bottom. And I remember I said, I become a statistic, but if I don't keep going, and if I quit now, and there's days I was like, this is really, really tough, but I never wanted to quit because I said, well, I've gone a year, no paid job. I stop now, I've wasted a year, year and a half, 2. And I got the 2.5, finally got it. But what really kept me going was I was like, I had become a statistic. I did not want to stay a statistic. And that's what kept me going through all the no's that I got, all the ridicule, all the mocking, all the, go coach football. You are not going to be a speaker. You're not going to be successful. You're no Tony Robbins. I even had a guy who I knew since I was 17 and I was 35 at the time, trying to get my first paid speaking job. I didn't get my first paid speaking job until I was 34 when I was trying to get his paid speaking job from him. I didn't get my first one until I was 35. And I remember I knew him since I was 17 and I was 34 at the time. So 17 years I knew him. He said, what do you want, Marcus? I said, well, I want to speak for your organization. He said, well, I don't want to work with you. Like, you have nothing to offer, my employees. I only took this call because you're Jonathan Ogden's younger brother, who I know. I have no use for you. You're never going to succeed at this. Just go ahead and give up now. Have a good day. He hung up the phone on me. And I knew him for 17 years, and he's wrote me off. And I'll never forget that. And that was just what kept me going, DeAndre, because I just didn't want to stay a statistic. I didn't want people like that who were going to dictate my life was going to be what they thought I should be. And I tell all my clients, you just got to focus on the light in times of extreme darkness.
And even in that little bunch, that was a lot of nuggets. And I want to, on the other side of this break, I want to talk about, again, what that, now that we've talked about it and kind of went into what the bad or what the challenge looked like. What was that now moving forward and overcoming peace, and where are we now? And I think that is going to be something that's going to, I think, help individuals, remind them that, listen, it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to happen because you're in it. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I really want to talk about I want to kind of talk about that tunnel experience and then the light. Once we come back on the other side of this break. Again, listen, if you have not shared this with your family and friends, let them know now that they need to catch this second half, because I truly do believe that there is something in this message, there's something in this live tonight that I think will really, really help them. We'll be right back. We are still live. So we'll be right back after this break. Please keep it locked right here for PickEd Speaks What? Where Black excellence speaks for itself. We'll be right back after this.
PickEd Speaks will be right back. Are your students ready to succeed in today's changing environment? The necessity for innovative educational consulting is here, and Woodson and Associates, we're ready to help. You can provide state-of-the-art diversity and educational leadership. Your students will always have the resources needed to succeed with Woodson and Associates.
In a world of uncertainty, where it seems we are going through the motions of life with no direction, and our new norm and way of doing things have somewhat crippled the intimacy of our connections, while the government continues to transition. With time moving on, so are we at the For Brighter Futures Foundation, working with families in our community to redefine our norm, to engage our community through volunteerism, educational advancement, and family assistance. So, don't let time pass you by, but join the For Brighter Futures Foundation movement at www.forbrighterfutures.com. And pushing Black businesses. This hoodie that I did purchase came from Alfred's Laundry. Alfred Shivey, he was an amazing educator who's really growing himself as a political activist. You can please follow him on social media. But this is his brand. He also has one that says "My Vice President is Black." And he has Black History in the Making. There's so many other wonderful attire that he has. So please make sure that you go to alfredslaundry.com to go get your shirt, or go get your polo, or go get the jackets that they have, or go get a t-shirt or something to support that brother, because he's doing amazing work in the community. So please make We are back. We are having amazing discussions. I kind of wanted to take a moment to, so there's some comments saying, so Floyd Rounds Jr., a good friend of mine, who wrote a book as well, talking about his life experiences dealing with loss. Loss of his family, losing his brother, talking about child custody and things of that nature. He's written the book. He's actually, and I'm actually gonna, Floyd is actually a regular on the show, a good friend of mine. Also, just got his just finished his audio version of the book, so that'll be coming out soon. But he is with us tonight, and then of course, my lovely mother-in-law. My lovely bonus mom, Lynn, who is joining tonight. Good evening to you. Thank you so much, my bonus mom, with us there. And so thank you for joining. But again, we are back and having a great discussion. And I wanted to kind of talk about dig to the next level, if you will. We talked about that tunnel, and we talked about, what it looked like going through. We talked about the challenges. We talked about what it looks like to have to endure those things. And, those of us having persons in our lives who kind of push us forward. I coin this phrase often, some are necessary for your development, but some are meant for your development, but not necessary for your growth. And so I do believe that, in those times we have individuals who, though they think that, they see things one-sided, right? And so now that you have this individual who says, all right, I'm going to take a year call because of your brother. Now you've gone through, the losses of your father. Now you've gone through, business issues. Now you've moved and you're struggling, everything else. It obviously does not look like there's light at the end of the tunnel, because it seems like everything is crumpling and crowding, and you're just like, this is a lot. What was that turning moment, or what was that click for you?
So really and truly, the click for me was when I got that first job with Miller Mock College, I realized that even though it took me 2.5 years, it took me, again, 30 months, I was told no on every paid speaking job I went after. 30 straight months. I was a custodian for a good amount of time. I coached football to kids, one-on-one private sessions for a good amount of time. I ran 7-on-7 football camps. I was a birthday party clown playing football with kids at birthday parties as an attraction for their birthday parties. I did anything and everything I could just to pay the bills. And I tell people all the time, there's some months where I broke even, some months where I had a little bit in the black, a lot of months where I was a lot in the red, and just did the best I could to keep myself going. But once I got that first paid speaking job and I learned a little bit about how to position yourself and how to sell yourself to people, that I could do this. And then I ended up getting a couple jobs inconsistently in 2016, 2017. 2018, I got coached by two great individuals. One was a program called NAPSA. The other was my mentor, Mel Robbins. And I learned the art of just being okay, being a personality keynote speaker. I'm not an expert. I am not somebody, I'm not a researcher. I am me. And that's what Mel told me. There's billions of, or so-called millions or billions of experts, how they want to position themselves, but there's only one you. Sell you. And once I learned that, I went full-time in 2018, still struggled to get speaking consistently, got some coaching clients, and then started doing some consulting in 2019 to 20. And then, now, because of the way that we have a phenomenal team around us, we have some great systems in place. We're building out some more systems. We're able to now scale the business, but it took a lot of trial, a lot of effort, a lot of fault, a lot of failure, a lot of sleepless nights. That was why my first book is called Sleepless Nights, DeAndre, because I went many a nights between 2013 and 2018. Sleepless nights, many nights. And specifically between 2013 and 16, because I hadn't had a paid speaking job, and I started to do that in 2013. And I felt that, wow, this is not working. I'm stressed out. We don't have money coming in. But again, the light turned on for me that I could do this in 2016 when I got that first paid job for a college at their 100th commencement graduation speech in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wow. And that's always encouraging, because of the fact that a lot of people, I'm sure, like I said, you talked about the process, right? A lot of people are expecting that things are going to happen, the click is going to happen overnight. And for some people, it does. For some people, it's an overnight. They sometimes call them the overnight sensation, and so it does happen overnight. But for others, it takes a moment. And what for you do you feel was your greatest takeaway from the experience, even for the wait, if you will, that helps you now with your clients and how to help them move forward?
So I think you said it's an overnight success. I don't know if that's true, man. I think we don't see all the grind they do behind the scenes, and then they get found, overnight success. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in that at all. I think everybody's had to grind some way, somehow, behind the scenes, or in the, it's like the old saying, what you do in the dark will eventually show in the light. Mm-hmm. And, to get really to that point, like you were asking me the question, I really feel, for me, it's kind of like in that whole perspective of when I realized that the value that you need to bring to people has to come out authentically. And when I actually learned how to build a bridge between myself and future clients, that's when things got really successful. Because again, I failed so many times. I failed 3 times in business. I failed once at a clothing line, failed once at a fitness business, and I failed miserably almost down and out in construction. But Warren Buffett says it best. He'll never invest in a business owner that hasn't failed 3 times. Because they say, if you haven't failed 3 times, he doesn't feel you've learned. So, and I realized that, and I kept going. I saw, just through reading a lot of just, information, podcasts, that everyone who was successful, or most everyone who was successful, that's self-made, has some sort of mess up or some sort of bump along the road. And that's kind of what I put myself forward to. I said, wow, okay, I'm going to have to keep going. I'm going to have to keep pressing forward. But really and truly, what I learned is the value of what you bring to people is going to be your shining star. And that's why I got no paid jobs for 2.5 years, DeAndre. I was coming across very desperate. I came across like, I need your business now. Perfect example. I do a ton of podcasts. I love podcasts. And if I get a chance to get on one, I always say yes. I ended up meeting a guy who's a high-level executive from American Express because he heard one of my podcasts that I did called Life of Selling. It's called Selling from the Heart. Mm-hmm. So he heard me on that podcast, reached out to me, on a Sunday, Easter Sunday. Hey, Marques, just wanted to let you know I love what you're doing. Want to have a time to grab a call? Let's do it. I said, hey, how about tomorrow at 1:00? He said, great. He messaged me this morning. Hey, Marques, a lot of things going on right now. I can't make it today. Can we chat Friday anytime before 11? I said, absolutely. How's Friday at 9 a.m.? He said, done. Thank you for understanding and being so flexible. The old Marques would have been like, oh, okay, well, how about we can just do it later today at like 1:30? Or how about we can do it like on Tuesday at like, 11? But I would have been pressing him to try to get on that phone right away. Mm-hmm. And today, no. And that's what I tell people. The way in which we do business, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're Indian, I don't care what race you are. If you don't have sufficient marketing pipeline of people you're talking to for business, and you don't have that, when you go on the phone with people, you become desperate. Mm-hmm. The minute they sense it, DeAndre, is the minute they're off that phone or off that Zoom. They're gone. Mm-hmm. They're gone. So when the American Express guy told me, Marques, I just can't wait to talk to you. I said, man, look, talk to you Friday. No big deal. I understand. I think that's what a lot of people need to learn is patience. Mm-hmm. Because people can tell, DeAndre, if you're desperate to get them on the phone to talk and do business. I've got someone right now. I really want to work with them. Good people, but I can kind of get a feeling they're a little desperate. Not too much, but I have to kind of rein them in a little bit. Hey, look, man, you can't, when I want to move forward with you, which I'm about to do, don't spook me off. I'm close to saying yes, but you keep calling me saying, well, how about we start now? We're trying to get this thing started for this. It's making me feel like there's nothing in the pipeline for them. So I'm very leery of those type of people because I've been burnt in the past and I've learned. So I would say that being patient is something that I learned throughout my process that I bring to what I do today and also help my clients with as well.
And you literally hit on something so poignant because of the fact that I had to learn that myself, right? I had to learn two things. One, I had to learn that you have more in you than you think you do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you necessarily take the time to really nurture what's in you. I think sometimes I think there's moments where we wait for people to validate that thing that's in us to make sure that it is something. Is this really in me? So we need to make sure someone validates rather than it being something that you exude to the world and say, this is me authentically. And this is what I push forward. And the second thing I had to learn, which you hit on heavily, is, put yourself out there. Make sure, though, that you don't come off in a way that it makes it uncomfortable or makes it hard for people to want to work with you because, again, one can't read you, or it's like you're doing too much. Right. And for that, again, speaking from experience, being the, are you sure you can? My first season, I'm not gonna lie to you. First season, I was every 2 seconds. Are you sure you can make it? And you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and like after a while, there was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be there, and that does kind of sometimes come off. But again, once you begin to grow into you and you start seeing more about who you are, and you really tap into you and not necessarily seek the validation, I think you begin to become more comfortable in that oneness of who you are. And with that, like I said, because you've had so much that you've had a chance to grab from, right? You've had so many experiences that you've been able to grab from that you're now able to push forward. When you look at, the journey that you've traveled, because it definitely is a humbling journey, and it definitely is a journey that I believe that many have traveled, but also have not been able to understand how to tell their story through it. How do you, or how would you help men like yourself, just men in general? How would you help men be able to come comfortable with telling their story, walking in their story, and using that story to help someone else?
So first things first, other than the Son of God, there's only been one man to walk this earth who's perfect. That's it. That's it. Jesus Christ. And none of us are perfect. I feel, though, as men, we feel we have to come off perfect, or we feel we have to come off strong and not be vulnerable. And I tell people the real strength is in vulnerability and learning from our mistakes. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a great quote talking about that. Strength is not from winning. Strength is when you learn from what the struggles you have endured, and then you have the discipline not to quit and or give up and keep going. That's strength. And unfortunately, a lot of times, society or the media or culture in general makes men feel that if we make a mistake or we do wrong and we can't support our family, that we're losers. And I tell everybody, the only losers I've ever seen from people are people who throw the towel in and they give up. If you give up in general, yes, you're not going to be a winner to me. If you struggle, you have failures, you make mistakes, you learn, you keep going, and you never quit, you're never a loser to me. Never. Because at the end of the day, all of us have struggles. All of us need to have ourselves checked. All of us need to be better. All of us. So I feel it's that society pressure to come across perfect. And a lot of speakers don't tell their story. I just did a keynote speech for Western Governors University, the largest online university in the country. You ever heard of them?
Actually, where my master's are from.
Okay. So I was out there and I spoke for them in February. And I met the president, Scott Pulsifer, who's the new president. He's been there for maybe about 5 years. And great guy. And, I was the, only African-American in the whole place. I was in Salt Lake City. And Scott, who is, Caucasian, grew up in a great family, has 6 kids, had totally different upbringing than me, said, Marques, so much of your story that you share with the graduates in a very condensed version. I only had 12 minutes to deliver a keynote for almost 10,000 people that were watching virtually. And he said, your story of what you've been through, the challenge you've overcome to get where you are today, the man you are, so much of your life resonates with me. I'm a better person for knowing you, and I'm so glad you shared your story with WGU and our graduates and our staff, and you're going to do a lot of great things in education as a speaker for commencements because you're a genuine, authentic individual that shares their story. I'm not perfect. I've made many mistakes. I've lost it all. I've had addiction problems. I've had alcohol problems. I've had painkiller problems. I've had all kinds of problems, but I'm still here. I've learned from my mistakes. I'm a better man. Am I perfect? Nope. Will I ever be perfect? Absolutely not. But all I can do is just strive to do my best. I don't even strive for perfection because perfection is not reality. I just strive to be my best. And that's all I can do. And whoever I can help, my coaching clients, my speaking clients, great podcast people like yourself, great hosts, great guests. That's all it is. But it all comes from sharing your story and not being afraid to be judged. Because I tell everybody, people are going to judge you regardless. So you might as well tell your story. They're going to get a preconceived notion of you regardless of what you say. So you might as well be real and tell it like it is and let it fall where they may.
The phrase, the quote, I began speaking to help others succeed where I failed. I heard this guy, say it. I don't know who the guy is. It's him, by the way. I heard that, and then it correlated with something I heard at my high school graduation, and it stuck with me still to this day. And I became friends with him later on. Jamal Baker, who was also a graduate of my high school, he said to us, "Failure is not final, and don't get caught up in the failure."
Right.
Even more so that if you have failed something, that means you're on the right track. Because obviously there's something greater above that. So when you said I began speaking to help others succeed where I failed, what does that even though there are words, what does that mean to you now? Now that you're on the other side of it?
What it means to me is I want people to learn from my mistakes so that they can live their best life. You need to learn what I've done right, but more important, what I've done wrong. What have I had success at? More important, what have I had failures and struggles with? Again, there's no losers in this game of life unless you quit. That's it. As long as you keep trying, I don't care if you don't win a day in your life. As long as you keep trying, you're a winner to me. And to me, it's clients who tell me about the, like, for example, I have a client that's going to sign up with me in about a week and a half. Young guy, 25, doing very well as a mortgage broker. And he's like, what's getting into real estate investing? And someone told him, well, man, look, good. Get $100,000 in the bank. You'll become a accredited investor. You can invest in me. I said, Dominic, why? Why are you doing that? You're 25 years old. Yeah, take your shots. I get it. But that's a lot of cash. You don't need to be getting involved in deals like that, where all of your assets are into a deal that you probably can't get back for a minimum 24 to 36 months. And then you're putting all this cash in. Yeah, you're hoping to get it out and have a good return. But let's say you have a good return. Let's say you get 10% a year return. So you make $30K in 3 years, 130 back. Great. But what if the project goes bad? Then what happens? Your money is what? It's on the line. So you need to diversify. You don't need to put all that cash that you save up for. Now, again, if you were a basketball player making hundreds of millions of dollars, put $100K in, not a problem. But he's been working and saving for this. I'm like, dude. And so what happens? You save for all this, put it in there. It doesn't work out. Then where are you left? Left just like I was, right? Having financial issues, feeling jaded, feeling that you worked hard for these last 3, 4, 5 years of saving to put all your money into something and risk it. And I told him, if you're gonna work with me as your coach, you are not doing that. That's how I lost my money with Kate. I put between $2.5 and $3 million of my money all into one project. The worst thing I ever did. I trusted a client that I shouldn't have. All my fault, lost it all. This young man could have been doing the same exact thing if he was on that path. I told him, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to allow you to put all of your assets at risk like that. You're going to diversify. You're going to invest for $25K on a deal, maybe 10 or 15 on another deal. You're going to get some diversity. You're young. The key to your game is get involved in as many doors as possible without putting all of your cash at risk into one hole, like I did. And he thanked me, and we start coaching. I start coaching April 15th. So that's what it means to me, DeAndre, is these are the things I've been through, not allowing others to go down the same rabbit hole that I went down and end up exactly like I did. Bankrupt, home foreclosed on, both cars repossessed, $400 to my name, and literally on edge every single night for almost 2.5 years, wondering, could I get it done? Can I make my bills? Can I get myself? Can I keep this life up to be who I am today? And I was married. I got married in that time. I had a young daughter at that time, and it was stressful. So that's what it means to me, not allowing my clients to go through the same mistakes and horrifying experiences that I did, so they don't end up like I did.
And briefly, because of the fact that we talked about you being obviously a motivational speaker, we talked about you being a business coach, a consultant, and of course there's that author aspect of you as well. And there was, and I actually ordered one of your books over the weekend. And I really want to kind of give you the floor for a moment to talk about what people will receive in the book, The Success Cycle. This particular book talks about the 3 keys for achieving your goals in business and life. What brought this book about, and what can people expect inside of this book?
So people can expect a very simplistic, very easy to follow plan to get them from where they are to where they want to be. Write this down, DeAndre. Never forget it, because I learned this through this processing in my life, and it's spot on. Goals are what we want to achieve. Accomplishments are what we have achieved. So this book will help you turn your goals into accomplishments with 3 easy processes and 3 very simplistic characteristics: ambition, drive, hard work. Ambition, create your roadmap, follow it for your life, make any types of tweaks, any type of pivots, any type of detours along the way. But if you don't have purpose in life, you're not living life. Drive, be inspired over motivated. Motivation comes from the word locomotive, means to go into a short, powerful distance, which means you're really driven by external forces like money, fame, notoriety. Inspiration, you are driven to help people for the long haul and help them be the best that they can be. When I had my construction company, I was motivated by money. I made a lot of money and I burnt out. When I started speaking, 2.5 years, not one paid job. I never gave up. And here I am today. That's the difference. And hard work. Focus on yourself and not the competition. And when I went, this book is online and it's in every Barnes & Noble bookstore across the country in the business section. I remember people sending me pictures, DeAndre, my book next to Dave Ramsey's book. I'll never forget, I went to the Barnes & Noble here in our area. On the same shelf was our book, Phil Knight's new book, Bob Iger's book, and Damon John's book. I said, to have our book in the same business section, on the same shelf with these juggernauts, was absolutely one of the most impactful experiences of my life, because 7.5 years ago, DeAndre, I'm making $8.25 an hour. That's what I'm making. That's where I'm at. I have no money in the bank. I have no credit. I have zero. I mean, I'm literally just living paycheck to paycheck 7.5 years ago. Today, well, this is probably about 6 months ago, I went to the bookstore and saw that. And now I have some of the largest, I have some extremely large consulting clients. One of my biggest consulting clients is the largest food product company in the US, or one of the largest in the US in the ketchup industry. They're number 2 in the US for ketchup consumed by our country. Red Gold quality. 35% of our nation's ketchup, DeAndre, is my client Red Gold. They're number 2 behind Hunt's. I'm the first speaker that they ever hired in their 80 years to come from the outside to speak to their team. They loved it so much. I've done not just 1, but 2 consulting contracts with them in the last year. They bought a year package for consulting. They loved it so much, made a ton of money, and they renewed. I have some other clients I'm talking to, like Mutual of Omaha, Lulu Publishing. I've worked for 19 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker in the last 5 years, DeAndre. The last 5 years. And you know, to put anybody on stage, right? But anybody that, you know what I'm saying, they're looking at like, are you really this good? Well, you can't just be average.
That's right.
You can't.
That's
They're
right.
not going to put it up there. So I've worked for and of the 19, DeAndre, 12 are Fortune 100. Home Depot, AXA Equitable, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, New York Life, MetLife, Liberty Mutual Insurance, and Cisco, Siemens, and you're talking about juggernauts in their industry, have hired me to come in and speak, coach, and or consult. So my whole point is that it doesn't matter where you start in life, it matters where you finish. But again, think about that. 7.5 years ago, man, I was making $8.25 an hour to where I'm at now. That book will give you the step-by-step process, exercises to do to get from where you are to where you want to be for a very affordable price of like $25. And you'll get it from there. And you'll get the step-by-step process that I did to get where I am today.
And I can just keep this conversation going more and more and more. Unfortunately, my time is running out. I really want to get an opportunity really quickly for people to, one, learn where they can find you, but also how they can become maybe become engaged, a part of your academy as well.
So they can go to our website, www.marquesogden.com. You can also hit us up on any social media platforms: LinkedIn's Marques Ogden, Instagram @Marques Ogden, Facebook Marques Ogden. There's our link tree right there. You can hit the chat with me button on our website. Send us a text. We'll get back to you right away. And or you can shoot me an email at Marques_Ogden@yahoo.com. And again, just reach out to us, connect with us. Again, DeAndre, for me, everything I do is predicated off of helping others. I have some phenomenal businesses I'm part of. I have a company I'm a co-owner of called Grind Oral Care. We have a veteran owner majority owner, Roger Gindelsberger. He brought me in to help with the marketing because he's been following me on LinkedIn. I'm a member of Athlete Foundry. Yeah, I have different businesses I'm a part of, like Zipstream and all these other type of great brands. But that's from consistency on social media, hard work, and putting ourselves out there. And I tell everybody, if you're not using social media to be socially positioning yourself to get, now that's what you can do. There's 3 things you need to do to be able to get out there and beat your competitors. Outsmart them, okay? Outperform them, outpace them. Okay? That's what you got to do. Outsmart them, outpace them, outperform them. What we do with our coaching classes is we help you do that. And I'm going to close with this. If you want to be successful in sales, there's 3 things you must bring to the table every single time you talk to somebody to engage them. Emotion, trust, rationalization. People need to know that what you're doing is an emotional trigger and or response to who they are as an individual, wanting to touch them to help them create that draw. Once they're emotionally drawn into you, through time and consistency, they'll build trust with you. And when they trust you, see you as a thought leader, then it goes to the 3rd part of the pipeline, rationalization, i.e. logic. If I invest with you, coach me, speak for me, buy your product, buy your service, what can I get out of it? What can I expect out of it for me? A best return, help me with my life, help me with my business, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to close with that. If you want to master sales, and I teach my clients on a much deeper level, and all my clients that are doing it are getting huge returns on investment. But I'll just give you a little bit of a taste for it. Emotion, trust, logic. Connect with them, be consistent with them, make them realize investing with you will give them a great return on their investment. You got them. Okay? Emotion, trust, logic. 1, 2, 3, out the door. You'll always be in the best position to win.
And listen, you all heard it here, right here on PickEd Speaks. Listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed the discussion because I don't like to call these things interviews. I love to call them discussions because ultimately there's nuggets that we actually get out of them. Thank you, good, kind sir, for being a part of this discussion and being a part of this village and helping, family and friends who are watching us, look at themselves differently. I'm sure somebody, when they leave here off this live and they will actually watch it, in the replays, they will definitely feel motivated, encouraged, and become better for it. Please know that you can follow us on all social media platforms. At the very end of the show, it'll show you in the outro where you can actually like and subscribe to our social media outlets. Again, we will not do a replay. Tomorrow we also will not do a recap. So we will make sure that they are pinned to the top of all the social media outlets, but we will not do a live recap tomorrow, nor do a live replay at our 1 o'clock normal usual time. So please make sure that you continue to go to our Facebook page and all other social media outlets, whether it be YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and actually see that. If you want to learn more about what this great brother is doing, please make sure you follow us on the social media outlet because we will post all the things that you also saw. Also, we want to make sure that we are blessing you. So we are actually of a show. If you're interested in actually receiving this book, if you're interested in getting this particular book, The Success Cycle, we are actually going to give three lucky viewers this particular book. So we want to make sure that you get an opportunity to be a part of that. So if you are interested in getting this particular book, please make sure that you send an email to to me at inspire@IamDrPickett.com. Again, that's inspire@IamDrPickett.com. If you would like to actually get this book, we want to make sure that this is given to you. And I appreciate you. Again, as always, thank you all for joining. Thank you for joining me. And again, until we meet again, know that I love you. God loves you. And again, you are better and you are greater because you are, and the word is greater because you are in it. This is PickEd Speaks, where what? Black excellence speaks for itself. Until next time, God bless you and God keep you is my prayer. Peace.